Hi, everyone. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Basha Henderson, and I'm a life and business coach. Today, I have a special guest with me, Judi Holmes. And Judi very kindly agreed to record this conversation as a testimonial to share her experience of working with me as her coach. We have worked together since end of March last year. Um, we are just at the end of this amazing journey together, and Judi agreed to share her experience in hope that maybe anyone um, who hasn't ever experienced working with a coach and doesn't actually know what it looks like to work with a coach and maybe could benefit from having these kind of conversations would maybe get interested and and saw opportunity there for themselves to work through something in their life or improve something in their life and yeah, expand their potential and get a little bit more fulfillment from everything they do and create. Okay, Judi, so I will hand it over to you, and I will ask you if you could briefly introduce yourself and tell everyone what you would like them to know about you, who you are, what you do.
Thank you, Basha. Thank you for having me. Well, as Basha said, I'm Judi. I'm a sports remedial massage therapist. I've run my own business. I've had it for probably about 6 to 7 years now, and it's pretty successful, thank goodness. I'm also a single mom of a 17-year-old, and I've also come from Africa. I was born in Africa, and I moved over to this country when I was 24. Yep, as Basha said, I met her, thank goodness, last March. We kind of, fate would have it, crossed paths, and just at the most precise moment in my life, I feel. And we started chatting, and then, as Basha said, she became my life coach and my mentor, my friend, and just has kind of changed my life along with the 3 principles. So, yep.
Thank you, Judi. Thank you. And I also want to mention and really acknowledge that you mentioned that you're a single mom of a 17-year-old. He is very, very successful at what he does. He's very driven. He is going for a golf pro, right? And he only just found out recently that he is going to the States to study. And is it scholarship that he got? Is that
yes,
right?
It's a golf scholarship. Was rewarded a golf scholarship, and he's off to Missouri in the States, probably at the end of August this year. So yep, that's another thing I was very frightened about, but another thing Bash has helped me work through, and I'm really excited for him, obviously very proud and excited. He was just signed officially last week, and the final papers came through last night. So yeah, it's very exciting for him. Really.
That's so amazing. And I had to mention it because, as a single mom, it is really a huge thing to I can imagine, only because I don't have children, but I can only imagine it's a huge success to raise a man who's so driven, who's so successful, and at this young age is going for his dream like he does. So
yeah, it's very inspiring, actually. It's very I think I've learned a lot from him, especially in the last year, about his mental approach to life, his feelings, towards his dream. He's probably not, you know, being seen as the most talented golfer, but his work ethic is beyond belief. And his belief in his dreams, which I always have said to him, and his dad has said, you know, if you work hard and if you love something and you just keep going, no matter what, you will achieve in life. Because if you love something, you can't fail, can you? Well, you can't. And he's gone out to show us all, and it's just incredible. It's like I take such a big leaf out of his book. I look for him almost sometimes for wisdom. You know, I'm just, wow, did you actually say that? That's wow.
Yeah, but I wonder where he gets that from.
Well, I don't know.
So Judi, I have my first question is, help us understand a little bit, get like kind of
Okay.
an idea, what was your life like before we connected together, before we started working together, and what did you maybe struggle with, or what were you finding difficult?
Okay, I would say I think when I first met Basha, I was in a pretty difficult place. I was probably very anxious, constantly in my head. I had been aware of this, you know, for the last couple of years. My work-life balance was totally non-existent. All I was doing was trying to build my business and work. I was exhausted, I was stressed, I was worried all the time, not consciously, but yeah, it was there. And also just, you know, trying to do the best for Mac, you know, so I didn't have any kind of balance in my life. I didn't have a social life. I didn't, you know, I would come home exhausted. I would just want to sleep. My weekends, I would just end up, you know, cleaning the house. I wasn't seeing people. And I think I became more and more, you know, of an introvert, you know. I mean, I like my own company, but I think, became introverted and, you know, really in my head. I just wasn't in a great place at all. I was fearful for my future. I think with that, probably, I was pretty anxious. Yeah, I think I was at a very anxious stage in my life. And I just felt I was just existing. And I was just managing to keep everything going, you know. It's almost like, you know, a duck on a pond. You see them gliding along, but underneath they're furiously, you know, kicking their legs. And that's how I felt. You know, I could be controlled at work. I kept it together. But, you know, when I got home and if I was by myself, I was just manically trying to just keep going. So, yeah, I wasn't in a great place.
Thank you for sharing it. And yeah, I actually just wanted to highlight that what you just said, that like at work you were actually doing quite well and no one would even know that something was happening. And I think it's quite important because very often we can look at our lives and think, or even at someone else's lives especially, and think, oh my goodness, they have it all together, they're so successful, their life is amazing, their performance or business or whatever, their career is going so well, and from the outside everything looks so perfect. But it doesn't really mean that they really have it all together and they feel the way we see the same way as we see them, right, from the outside. So and I can so relate to it. I was there in the past. So yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And so when we started talking together, what were the main issues that you were hoping to resolve, or things that you were hoping to improve if we were to work together before we even started, like formally, before you hired me as your coach?
I think when I first connected with you, it was a connection immediately, that we maybe chatted for a few sessions, but I had this sense of immediate connection with you, which I don't, I have to say, I wasn't connecting with other people very well. I was probably quite fearful of being in crowds. This is before lockdown, obviously, or in social situations. I was very good one-on-one, obviously, because that's how I behave with my clients. But so being able to connect with someone immediately for me was, I just knew you. It was difficult for me the first time we talked, because you were asking me questions that, what do I want, and how do I see my life going? And I think I remember bursting into tears at that point, thinking, I have no idea. I felt I'd lost the connection with who I was. I was just almost outside looking, I was looking outside at myself, watching, not being in that self, if that kind of makes sense. So I was very disconnected. And I think I didn't at that stage, because I couldn't even connect with anything, with myself, or my hopes or dreams or wish, anything. That just connecting with you was the starting point, really, for me, a major starting point. And I think after just a few sessions, you started to give me hope, and that was it. I haven't seen hope in my life apart from my business. Again, I put that in a different box. I seem to be able to do that separately, but apart from that, in my own personal life, and again, apart from Mackenzie, I was hopeless. I felt hopeless in every sense of the word. I felt pretty hopeless as a human being, as a woman, as a person. I'd lost sight of who I was. Mm-hmm. Not being a therapist or a mom, or Mackenzie's mom. Those were the two things I'd just become. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know who I was anymore. And I think what I was hoping, well, I wasn't even hoping, you just it started to come out through our sessions. You started, bringing that importance, maybe start working with me, just enabled me to start being who I was again. But it's from that safety of being with you and your skills as a life coach. I was relaxed, and I felt safe. Mm. And that was a big one for me, Yeah. Because when you're muddled up in your head, you can't see any light, any tunnel, you don't know which way. You're sort of turning around and round and round on yourself all the time. So I think you became that hope for me, and that light at the end of the tunnel, that someone believed in me, and that was huge. That was the turning point for me, when I knew you had that belief in me, that it was just no-brainer to work with you.
Yeah. I remember this first conversation, and I exactly remember what you just said when I asked you what you want, and you said, I don't even know. And as you said, you burst into tears, because you felt like you were so far gone and disconnected from yourself, right? That you just said, like, I don't even know who I am, never mind what I want, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I see it a lot, and especially in women, that women tend to, and especially mothers, tend to have this identity of a mom, and then also take on maybe the professional identity. Mm-hmm. and this defines them, and they really kind of lose themselves because you know, as women, and I know again, I'm just saying it's generalization, but as women we tend to we have this instinct that we want to take care of everyone else and then tend to put ourselves last. And I just found it so beautiful that, you know, through our work together, I observed you kind of you know, getting back the sense of importance of taking care of yourself, because then you can take care of others, your son and your clients and others around you better. This was really, really beautiful. So if you could share a little bit about, you know, what it was like to work together with me. What did you find helpful, and what was maybe unique about my approach as a coach? What kind of stood out for you with, you know, when we worked together?
I think I probably have to say I have suffered from mental health in the past, mental health issues from quite probably in my early 20s. So I've kind of struggled with that for quite a while. And I've seen psychologists, psychiatrists, counsellors, different people to try and, you know, help through it. But I kind of learned, I thought, oh, you know, doctors, you know, they put a, they like to put a label on it, a label on you. And I felt I had this label on me, and I was basically just a bit of a basket case. You know, I knew I wasn't, but there was something wrong, you know. And I think you kind of start, after years of living with it, you just start believing it, you know. So I think when I started working with you, what I found profound about our sessions together, I just had to show up. That's all you wanted of me, was to show up. And I can't state the importance of that. You can show up however you want. So if I was in a bad mood, in low mood, high mood, you know, not feeling great, I knew I would be able to show up. Where in the past, if I was going to a counsellor or someone, you know, I would try and get out of it, because I think, oh, it's just no good, or it's not going to help. I looked forward to these sessions, because you weren't making me go into the past and relive experiences or relive what happened to me. That I didn't want to relive those. I know that's just the past. And it became great for me that it was just a story. It's just the past. So I think from that starting point, you enabled me to see that it's just a story. It doesn't have to come forward define me today. And that was huge, because I've always been defined from, you know, doctors or whatever about my past. Oh, shame, this is how you behave today. And I realized it's created by my thought, you know, not all, but, you know, a lot of it. But it wasn't just that, it was being able to show up and just be in that moment. And that was hugely beneficial for me. I think also the fact it's not you don't come up with a list of things to do. This is what you will achieve by next week. These are your rules. This is what you must do every day to be a certain way, because it doesn't work for me. You know, after 3 weeks, you get bored of it, or you just don't want to do it. But it's just a whole different way of working with someone. You know, you have to go back, yes, to certain starting points do come through, obviously from your past or your future, whatever, but it comes in a way of living now. And that's what I'd been looking for, someone to help me with just being present again.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Judy. And I really honor you for sharing about, what you struggled with. And I really appreciate it, because I think nowadays there are many people who really suffer, whose mental health suffers. And especially due to the current situation with the pandemic and with being in lockdown. But also, we live in a fast-paced world, and a society that puts loads of pressure on us to be successful in certain ways, the success being defined by, your standard of living, the money you're making maybe, or just kind of look the things looking from the outside certain way. And I think, we still don't talk enough about the emotional health, mental health. And I also really appreciate that you shared this distinction between what it's like to work with a therapist and with a coach. And because I think many people still don't quite get this distinction. So the therapy and counseling is more about like digging into your past and talking about it, and maybe trying to understand the past and why things happened, and using certain techniques to maybe heal the past. Which in my experience, my own personal experience, because I've been there as well, maybe help a little bit, but don't quite work. And for some people, to be fair, it just aggravates things, because it just takes you back and makes you relive those experiences. Whereas I just love what you said, that when you manage to get into the present and actually understand how you create this experience in the moment through thought, then it just make things uh, lighter, and made you just kind of take control of things, and live things more.
If I can just say, I do have to say, there was a major point though, it's we went into lockdown. So at the start, we were in lockdown. So this made me stop, full stop. So it stopped everything. It stopped me going to work. It stopped me on this wheel. I'd been on this hamster wheel going round and round and round, and it stopped. So I had to stop. And because I had to stop, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I know it's an awful pandemic, but those 4 months were the best 4 months for me, because it gave me an opportunity. It gave me a let out to be able to just work on me, just to actually focus and stop doing all the things on the outside that were, what can I say, they just took over my life. There was just too much going on. And because when I didn't have that, suddenly I could just relax, stop what I was doing, and just focus on our coaching. And it slowed me right down. And with that, I started getting out of my head. And that was the biggest thing for me, was not always being in my head.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. So actually, that's nice. That's a nice segue to my next question. So you're saying, like, what's changed for you on the inside, like how you felt, and how you maybe, stopped being in your head, and started seeing yourself differently. So if you could speak to this a little bit more, and also share with us what actually changed in your life, like on the kind of tangible, visible level, in your life, in your work, maybe relationships, like what are these like things that really stand out for you in your life at the moment, that are different from before?
Sorry, what was the first part of it again? The first part?
So the first part was that you mentioned how you started seeing things differently, how you're not overthinking things, how you're seeing yourself differently. So if you want to speak a little bit more to that, if there's anything to add, but also how things changed on the actual tangible, visible level in your life, relationships, and work.
I think what I started to see, the first thing for me was we were allowed an hour out exercise every day. And I just thought, oh, my usual, I'm so hard on myself. I thought, oh my God, I can't go to the gym. This is going to be a nightmare. I'm going to get fat. So I thought, right, you better go and walk. And we live in a beautiful countryside here. I'm very, very lucky where I live. You know, there's fields, there's beautiful nature just outside my front door. So I started walking, and then initially the first week was like, oh my God, I got to go out, you know, stomping around, didn't see anything, was in a hurry to get it finished because I was busy, you know, stomp, stomp, stomp. And then I started to slow. The slower I got, you know, the calmer when I started to calm down, then I realized those walks became my meditation in the morning. I actually went out and I just absolutely, it almost became pure joy. I started to see things that I haven't seen for years. I mean, you see them, but I didn't really see them. You know, the nature, I used to be a florist at one stage, and I started absolutely just loving seeing, you know, the flowers. We were in the middle of a lovely, almost pre-summer, you know, and seeing the flowers and the trees and the colors and the way things grew. And it actually got me every time I went out. I kept thinking, oh my God, I'd love to just pick this and create stuff. And, you know, and the walk became like a magic, you know, just, I think, feet on the ground for a start just slows me right down. And it became, you know, what I had to do every day just for me. You know, it was my me time, I think. And it was just great. I think that was the first thing that I started to realize. I've always liked walking, but then I realized that was one of the big things that changed for me. It wasn't about, oh, going to get some exercises. It was going because I loved it. And it was a sense of getting out of my head. And I just, you know, I was in the moment. I would just try not to think at all. So no thoughts, just enjoy being outside. Then I started realizing as we worked that, you know, there were things I wanted to try, which I haven't, for years I've thought, oh, I need to try and do some hobbies or try something new, or just never do it, you know. And then a colleague of mine said, oh, you know, why don't you try outdoor swimming? And I thought, oh, outdoor swimming, and I kind of chewed it over. And it's quite incredible because when I was younger, I grew up almost at the age of 4 in a swimming pool, and I became a competitive swimmer. I adored swimming. For 13 years of my life, I went in a swimming pool. And then I stopped. When I came overseas. I stopped swimming. And it's a big love of mine. And it's all these little things that I realized I started to reconnect with myself. So I thought I borrowed a wetsuit, went into a reservoir and started swimming, and I absolutely loved it. It was like coming home. It was just, oh, that was me hooked. I thought, this is great. You go in and come out, and it's so invigorating. It's for my soul. I just felt I loved it. So that was one of the things I did. Then there was an outdoor boot camp. You know, we couldn't go to the gym. Well, the gym's reinstated, but then I thought, you know, I really want to do something different. I didn't want to go into the gym because of the fear of the virus for my clients. And I thought, I really need to exercise. And this group of ladies who I used to admire and think, oh, wow, I'd love to be part of that. But I wouldn't have the courage to do it. And one of my clients was in the group and said, oh, come along. And I just thought in the past, I would have never had the courage to do it. I would have been too fearful. Oh, you know, you know, they all, you know, I put everyone on a pedestal and think, oh, you know, what would I have to say? And it's the best thing I've ever done. Twice a week outside, we have such a laugh, we train hard. Another thing I would never have done, you know? So it's just kind of getting back to things that I absolutely adore. And I haven't realized they reconnect with things that are really part of me, you know? started doing things, a bit of, colouring in, drawing again, trying to reconnect a bit with my creative side. I'm getting a puppy next week, which I adore dogs, but I haven't been able to have the courage to think. I always thought, oh, you'll get one day again. We had a dog, when Mackenzie was small, when he was a baby. But I thought, oh no, I can't have a dog in a flat, immediately. No, you can't do that. And then, yes, you can get a small dog. Why can't I have the possibility of these? It's the mindset has changed. My mindset hasn't become almost, the thoughts would almost seem, you wake up and there would always be shut, I would shut myself down, get a thought and shut it down immediately. Whereas now I don't do that. I don't shoot it down. I'm not as hard on myself. I allow the possibilities of, why don't you try it? Feel more adventurous. I feel more, I want to be around people, socially. I've connected with new people that I would never have done with, because I always thought, oh no, for whatever reason, my old self would have been, oh no, you can't do, oh no, they wouldn't be interested in you, or whatever bullshit I would come up with. It's things like that. I feel like I've started to live, but I've started to appreciate myself. And that's through having Basha in my corner. And I can't emphasize that enough. That is the difference between a counselor or a psychologist or CBD or whatever. It's having someone. I felt I don't have a huge family or a huge circle of friends that I could feel, mental health is a difficult thing. You don't, maybe in the beginning you would share, but people don't want to know. They're busy. They've got their own lives. And if you meet up with friends, you don't want to go on about how shit you feel. So I internalized everything. So it was layer upon layer upon layer of up to here, and just having you in my corner all the time now feels, it's 100%. It just gives you someone there that has got your back, no matter what you say or what you do or how you appear. It's okay, and it's worth all the money in the world, because I've come back to who I am. I've almost come back to, I hated myself for years. I've actually liking myself now. And I'm not this awful, person that I don't think I was an awful person, don't get that, but just very self-critical. Let's put it that way.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this, Judi. Wow, it's, obviously I have been on this journey together with you, but just like hearing all of it and at once is just, makes me appreciate how much work you have done, and you showed up so amazingly, as yourself, as you mentioned before, and I just love that, when people can do it and be completely transparent and show up as they are, whatever way they're feeling, and just be open about it. And we always kind of shift it, right? Like sometimes you start here and then you just go up there when
don't get me wrong, sometimes it was very hard and sometimes it was difficult to hear what you had to say, and it was edgy for me. Sometimes we'd go through things and I would think, I actually can't deal with this right now, but I still felt safe that I could go through it, no matter if there were tears or cross. I would think, I'm pissed off. Why did she say that? But it was 100%. I know it's coming from love, and that's the huge difference. It's from total 100% love, and it, and you feel it. I feel it, all the time, from a WhatsApp message to a text to online. It's always there from you, and that is just is profound. It just really is. I wish you'd been there when I was, an 18-year-old, because if I'd known, if we had this for the youngsters, it's just huge for people with mental health issues. Anyone, but people who are struggling, maybe who don't have, I think I didn't have a huge, you don't have huge support. Maybe I wasn't very good at asking for the support, but I didn't have that, felt I had that support or could ask for that support apart from a doctor or whatever, and they just want to feed you pills and, but then you lose yourself, you lose your creativity or your spontaneity. What's the word? Spontaneity. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I just can't. It's the best thing I've ever done for myself, and I just can't, speak highly enough of you. It's really, as a person, as a human being, I admire you so much. I've got so much respect, and in awe of what sometimes comes out of your mouth. I just don't know. I'd go, well, I don't know, because that's beyond me. But that's okay. That's okay,
Thank you, Judi, and thank you also for mentioning. I'm glad that you mentioned that sometimes it felt challenging because, on this journey, when you work with a coach, it's not always an easy ride, right? And that it's important to know that it can feel uncomfortable sometimes, but the role of a coach or a good coach is to be to be kind and not to be nice always, because a nice coach will tell you what you want to hear, but a coach who is kind will tell you what you need to hear in order to get out of this, like work through this blind spot or get out of this pattern or just see something new, right?
100%, because I also found that really useful, because if we were discussing maybe something that had come through from my past behavior, which I would keep bringing up, in present, you wouldn't sit and sympathize or empathize, and that was great, because that's not what I need. It's not what, been through all that, don't need it repeated, or don't need it, oh, shame you had a hard time. It's not about that. It's about you trying to help me be the best version of myself. And that's where I feel like I'm going, which I have not seen that for, I don't know when,
Thank you, Judi. Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add? Maybe speak a little bit about your business. Has anything changed? Have you noticed any changes in your business, in your work, or in relationships, any particular relationships, or in general?
I think in my business, it was interesting. I thought, by pulling myself in all sort of in the morning and all these times, like I'd be available for people all the time, that it was doing both my clients, I was there for my clients and I was there for me, but it wasn't. It was actually, I was becoming stressed. I was stressed at work. I was exhausted. How does that serve them? So after lockdown, it was really interesting, because I was only initially allowed to work a limited time, just because of my opening hours where I was working, and it was the morning. Now I'm a morning person, so I function 100% better early in the morning, and up to sort of lunchtime. Then especially with the massage, it's hard going. It's physically, and it can be mentally draining, so I changed my times, and it suited me 100%. And it's so different. And I've never gone back. And my clients have never asked. And I feel I serve them so much better, because I've limited. I haven't gone back, to working 6 people a day. Because by the 6th person, I was a mess. I don't think I was giving them 100% of my time. Of me, sorry. I was giving my time, but I was waning, And I just think I've become a better listener, which you've taught me. I was so in the beginning just want to shoot out because I hadn't been listened to, that the things would just come out my mouth, interrupt people, not really listening. But now I listen, I try to listen more to what they're saying. And it's a skill. It's not easy sometimes, but it's really helpful what else you can pick up from somebody, what else is going on. I'm quite, I think, intuitive anyway. You know, I always listened, but I think I'm listening on a different level. And I think I'm there for them because I'm more open-minded of maybe trying something else instead of just, oh, here they, oh, you know, I know them so well, I'm just going to do the same thing. Whereas now I try maybe a different approach. Let's try something else, you know? So that's interesting as well, because I've try a bit more creative in my thinking of work.
That's amazing. That is a huge thing that you started managing your own time the way you want and the way you work best, and not just like giving freely away your time, you know, to conform to other people's sort of like schedules and agendas. And the listening is a huge thing. Yeah, it really does change dynamics and relationships, right?
I also want to say, I think I was with people that I thought, you know, I was very black or white. I think if I met someone, I would immediately think black or white. Yeah, I like you, I don't. But now people who I think, not my cup of tea, I actually want to hear what they want to say to me out of curiosity. You know, they might not be interested in me, but I don't care anymore if they're not interested. I'm interested in what they have got to say, which is, and it's amazing how that's changed relationships in, you know, at work with people, not in my job, but where I'm working. It just has changed the dynamics, you know, because I probably appear I'm a friendlier, maybe more approachable person. I don't know, I'm just saying that because I feel that, you know. I'm not as dismissive as, you know, just dismiss because I don't have time, you know. So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Judi. Lastly, I also want to acknowledge you that, you know, the huge difference I see in you is, you know, the very fact that you're showing up here in this interview. It's quite a transformation, because I remember you used to say you don't like to listen to yourself, you can't do interviews, you can't even you weren't feeling comfortable speaking in a group setting when we were on group calls in my community, right? And now here we are, you're sharing your experience, and I just really want to acknowledge you and thank you so much for, you know, doing it, not really for me, but really doing it for others who might, you know, find this helpful, find some hope in it. And as you mentioned, you know, hope was a huge thing for you when we started working together. And I also liked what you said, that it wasn't hope for anything, like you weren't hoping for anything in particular. It was more this feeling of hope that you had, that just changed the way you felt in general, right?
Here.
Yes.
Totally inside.
Yeah. Judi, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I honor you for showing up here and sharing. And last thing I want to ask, if you would like to share maybe like your biggest insight or your biggest takeaway from our work together, or maybe a few, but even one would be amazing, that you really like, that was really profound and you still kind of see it and use it maybe every day, or You know,
Oh my goodness. I think for me, because of, I now know when everything starts to feel like it's getting too busy, and I'm not talking about in lockdown, I'm talking about when you go back in life or during the week, if I haven't seen you or whatever, and I'm start to feel overwhelmed. I know I'm starting to get into my head, and my thinking starting to create waves almost, whereas before I'd think, oh, I'm so stressed, but this, I've now know what I can do to slow it down. I now know you maybe need some time on your own. Just pull back and pull out, you know, maybe have a couple of days on my own on a weekend if Max with his dad, and just have that quiet time. And it will calm me right down. Maybe clean the house, because that always tidying, cleaning, don't ask, it just helps. But that grounds me back, gets me back to that starting point. So that for me is huge, because if you've got mental health, which it starts piling up, you just keep piling the shit until you go into total overdrive, almost breakdown level. But now I know I can read signs that, oh, I'm getting a bit in my head because I'm overthinking, you know, and it's my thinking, then my emotions, and then I'm creating a situation. Now I know what I can do not to do that. I also think another massive thing for me is if I wake up and I'm having a bad day. This is huge. Having a bad day. Now, in the past, I would start thinking about my bad day and start pinpointing it on, oh, well, you're fat, or you're this, or you're that, or you've had an argument with this, and then you start creating. Now I just sit with it. It's a bad day. It's okay to have a bad day. I will just sit all day and sit in the bad day and just let it be. I'll just let it be, because I know the next day it's not going to be a bad day. Or if I have a horrible thought about someone or myself, I just think, normally I would straight jump on it, like, God, you can't be quicker off someone's thoughts. In my head, I'd be straight onto that thought and it would be get carried away. Now I know, let it go, that bullshit. Another thought will come in, and when it does, it's incredible. You know, those are two huge, big insights for me. And the third one is I'm starting to trust my own intuition, my own wisdom, whatever you call it, intuition. It's really strong. And when it's starting to, I don't know, I can't explain it, but when it's able to shout more often than it used to. It used to only, I felt it only came up when I was really in dire straits or in time of desperation. But now it shows up, and it's incredible. It's beautiful. You know, I can be in a space of just being. I've learned to be more comfortable with just being me, which is really, you said that to me a year ago, I would have laughed at you and gone, you have just no way. So did I answer the question? Was
beautiful.
it?
Thank you. Thank you for sharing it. I think it's really profound, all these three insights and changes that you've noticed. Beautiful. Judi, with this, on this beautiful note, once again, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Thank you so much for being an amazing client, for showing up this way, the way you did, and for sharing your experience here with us. For anyone who's been watching and listening to this conversation, I hope it gave you some insight. It maybe give you some hope. And if you feel like you could do with a conversation with a coach, that you might need some help or work on some new possibilities, opportunities, I would love to have a conversation with you. Please get in touch, and let's chat. All right, guys, loads of love. Judi, loads of love to you. Thank you so much
you.
once again.
Okay, thank you.